Hola, ¿qué tal? Are you on the fence about learning Spanish? Wondering about the benefits of knowing this popular language? You are in the right place. This is Mirari from MosaLingua, and in this video, I'll tell you all you need to know before starting to learn Spanish. ¡Vamos allá! Spanish is the mother tongue of more than 485 million people, making it second only to Chinese in terms of the most spoken languages in the world. Spanish is the official language of 21 countries, and most of them are in the Americas. Mexico leads the way as the most populated Spanish-speaking country. Other important countries include Colombia, Argentina, Peru, Venezuela, Chile, and Ecuador. Spain is where the Spanish language originated, so naturally, it's the hub of Spanish speakers in Europe, with near 47 million native speakers. Finally, Equatorial Guinea, located in the western coast of Central Africa, is the only African country where Spanish is the official language. And although it's not an official language there, Spanish is also commonly spoken in the United States. About 13% of the population speaks Spanish as a first language, and that number continues to grow. Spanish is also the third most studied language in the world, after English and French. If we include everyone who speaks proficient Spanish as a second language, we can use Spanish to communicate with 591 million people worldwide. Caramba! According to the language difficulty rankings tool, English language speakers will learn Spanish in about 24 weeks or 600 hours. If your native language is drastically different from Spanish, then the learning process might take a little longer. Actually, this will depend on a number of factors: your determination, your mother tongue, the learning method you plan to use, and how frequently you plan to practice. For example, if you study Spanish consistently and devote an hour to it every day, or if you move to a Spanish-speaking country, you will become a competent speaker of the language in no time. A cool tip to learn Spanish faster is to not stick to only one method of learning, but to use a variety of resources. With the right motivation and time management strategies as a committed learner, you may reach an intermediate level of Spanish within a few months. Unfortunately, there is no simple answer for this question, but let's start with 3 aspects that make Spanish a relatively easy language to learn. First up, Spanish is said to be a phonetic language, meaning that it is pronounced as it is written. As you can see, it's a beginner-friendly language, especially for spelling and speaking. Sounds and letters match up, and there are usually no spelling surprises. However, I must admit, there are some tricky sounds in Spanish that will require some practice, but we will tackle them next. Second, like English, Spanish sentences frequently follow the SVO, subject, verb, object order, as in yo estudio medicina. Though there can be some flexibility. We would usually say María viene a casa, but we can also say a casa viene María or viene María a casa, depending on what part of the sentence we want to focus on. And another aspect that makes Spanish an easy language to learn is the fact that Spanish verbs are conjugated depending on the subject of the sentence. Verbs are separated into 3 families, those ending in ar, and ir, with patterns for conjugating each family. There are a fair number of irregular verbs, but they themselves usually follow a pattern, and that can be learned as you go. But there are, of course, a few aspects that most students consider to be tricky. So let's smooth your learning path right now and tackle them one by one. Spanish genders. For those students whose mother tongue has no genders like English, this will take some time getting used to. Nouns ending in o are usually masculine, whereas nouns ending in a are usually feminine. But, like in every language, there are exceptions. And we have feminine nouns like la foto or masculine nouns like el tema. However, there are some patterns you can follow that will make your life easier here. For example, words like foto or moto are diminutives of longer words like la fotografía or la motocicleta, which are feminine. Another rule is that words ending in ema are always masculine since they have Greek origins. Ser versus estar. This is a very common surprise for new learners, and that's why we have dedicated a whole video to the subject. So don't hesitate to watch that one next. Most foreigners do not differentiate between ser and estar because both of them mean to be. It's very common to hear Spanish learners say soy contento instead of estoy contento, or estoy americano instead of soy americano. Ser expresses permanent features like nationality, personality, or physical appearance. Estar refers to temporary states and the location of people and things. I always tell my students to use this trick when they're not sure about which one to use. For example, if you want to say I am tired, ask yourself if you could say I'm a tired person. It doesn't sound quite right, does it? In that case, we can't use ser, but estar. We should say estoy cansado. Instead, if you want to say I'm French and the sentence I'm a French person kind of works in your language, then we must say soy francés. Of course, there are many more meanings and uses for each of the verbs, but if you use this trick, you will master most of the uses. Spanish verbs. Assuming it's impossible to learn all the tenses when you're a beginner, just pick the simplest present, past, and future verb tense. Let's take the verb estudiar. If you learn estoy estudiando for present, estaba estudiando for past, and estaré estudiando for future, you can pretty much convey any idea that uses this verb. Even if it's not 100% perfect, everybody will understand you, and that will give you extra time to learn the other verb tenses. Some sounds, like the rolled R in words like carro or rico. This is one of the most distinctive sounds in Spanish. If it's a cousin of the R we found in other languages, it is a very, very distant cousin that never visits. If anything, the English D sound you might hear in words like butter is a good association. Essentially, you need to vibrate your tongue against the back of your top teeth. If you want to know some tricks to master this sound, I also recorded a video about how to roll your R like a native Spanish speaker. Be sure to check that one out. The J or G in words like gente or giro. Although in Latin America this sound is similar to the H in hello, in Spain it's somewhere between the H in hello and the K in kept. Try this. Pronounce the English H, but lift your tongue a little bit, just as if you were going to pronounce the letter K. The double L is pronounced differently according to the dialect. In Spain and most Central and South America, it sounds like the English letter Y, as in the words yellow and yes, llave or me llamo. In Argentina and Uruguay, it's similar to the English sh, llave, me llamo. In Colombia, Venezuela or Guatemala, it's similar to an English J, llave, me llamo. If you stick to any of these pronunciations, it will be just fine, since everybody will understand what you're saying. So simply pick the one which is the simplest for you. People speak Spanish way too fast. Did you know that only Japanese is spoken faster than Spanish? Yes. One of the main difficulties in learning Spanish is the rapid-fire delivery. But Spanish people are always very friendly and will be pleased to slow down if you kindly ask them más despacio, por favor. Social codes. Spanish speakers are very expressive, not only with words, but also using their body language to convince, to argue, or to show affection. For example, when greeting, it is very common for men to embrace or shake hands, and for men and women, or just women, to kiss one another on the cheeks. Even acquaintances will often kiss the first time they meet. Another thing we do when talking is to stand very close, to a point that it can become a bit uncomfortable for those who aren't used to it. And yes, Spanish speakers use their hands a lot and gesture during their conversations. It's part of our language and we use it to reinforce our ideas. So don't be afraid to try it. People who learn Spanish have so much fun imitating native speakers. Work opportunities. Being one of the most spoken languages in the world, the Spanish language will increase your employment opportunities in every corner of the world. And if you simply want to be promoted within your company, knowing Spanish will definitely make you more competitive. Tons of learning resources. The large number of speakers means there are tons of online resources available for learning Spanish. And you're also sure to have access finding a native Spanish speaker to practice your conversation with. Traveling. By learning Spanish, you will also be able to travel and experience Spain and all of Latin America freely. This will help you learn more about the culture of the areas you visit, which will truly enhance your travel experience and make it more exciting. Learning other languages. If you decide to learn Spanish, that means you will also be learning valuable information that can help you learn other languages faster, especially other Romance languages, such as Italian, Portuguese, or French. And if you are a native or proficient English speaker, you already know more Spanish than a 5-year-old native speaker, even if you've never touched a Spanish textbook. Yes, you heard me right. Since Latin roots are the basis of so many English words, you can tell what a cognate means just by looking at it. This is certainly a plus. So I guess now you know all you need to before start learning Spanish. Have you started yet? If so, let me know your first impressions in the comments below. I really hope this video encourages you to learn this language. See you in our next video. Adios.
If you learned something new from this video, give it a thumbs up. Then, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. Have a look around our channel for more hacks and tips. And if you're watching on another social media platform, like or follow our page. See you next time.